Without growth, societies will descend into chaos, according to the financial and political elite. But is that really the case? Isn't it rather their blind faith in growth that leads us to chaos? In the 80s, the world of finance, operating from the City of London and Wall Street, increased its influence on governments and societies and became the driving force of capitalism. Today, financial markets, not governments, determine the well-being of entire countries. How did it come to this? How could financial markets gain such influence over our lives? One person who knows the financial world better than almost anyone is Stuart Cowley. For nearly 30 years, he was a successful fund manager on Wall Street and in the City of London.
No, I never planned to be a fund manager. I was a scientist, and I was at Oxford, and one night I was playing in a jazz quartet, and the drummer was an economist. We were very drunk. I said, what's this thing in the city, sort of thing? And he told us all about it, and I woke up the next morning and with a massive hangover, and but remembered what he said. And I went to the careers department at Oxford University and got the forms and filled them in really badly. And before I knew it, I'd been offered a job, and I'd been offered £20,000 to go and start on Wall Street in 1987. And that was the Wild West. That was the beginning of it, really. And we went into the new era of Reagan, Thatcher, and liberal trade. So what we're doing is we're taking the corset off the system, yes? And we went through this process of liberalisation. So the so-called Big Bang in the city was all about financial deregulation. Let's go. Let the market decide, and let's hire people, and let's see what happens, yes? As opposed to this really kind of controlled atmosphere which we'd had before. And it was that we walked into, where money now talks, now money wins. And you need people, smart people, to trade the markets and make finance the powerhouse behind capitalism, which is it's supposed to be. Because all capitalism functions on debt and functions on money and particular debt. And that's what it did. And that's when growth and inflation exploded in the 1980s.
The plan seemed to work. Stock markets boomed. Growth no longer needed to be financed by increasing wages and tax revenue. Now it was all about credit. Governments and individuals were to take out loans from banks and investors so that they could be good consumers and thus generate growth.
Credit cards come along, overdraft facilities, lending for houses becomes widely available. And it's at that point that it explodes. That now it's not just the very wealthy who have access to all these things, consumerism. It's now people lower down the income scales as well. And if you look at money supply and the supply of credit in the early 80s, it just explodes. And it's been access to consumerism and kind of promotion of current consumerism, plus debt, which has created the growth and created where we are today. When was the last time that you heard anybody say that I can't come out tonight because we're saving up to buy a refrigerator? It just doesn't happen, yeah? Nobody waits anymore.
The cold logic of the market took over, producing winners and losers.
Used to be a poker player. Is this poker play with other means?
Well, yeah, I've played some poker in my lifetime. I suppose a lot of people in this business have. I think that there's a common feeling that playing cards or playing blackjack or something like that is gambling. But of course, we know it's not really gambling. It's taking into account the probability of certain events occurring and placing wagers accordingly. We would call that the art of speculation.
One of the people who knew best how to profit from this new logic was Donald Trump.
I really think I have an instinct, but I don't think it's the instinct of a shark. I think it's the instinct of maybe getting what I want or knowing how to get what I want.
Only a few recognized the profit opportunities in this new era, as well as Donald Trump. He made large-scale purchases of derelict New York apartment blocks and promised to transform them into luxury hotels and apartments. He received financing from banks high on the market boom and through the largest tax break in New York City history. Trump himself paid practically nothing.
Manhattan is an incredible place where you build a huge building and it's sold out in a matter of days. I mean, you know, you build a building with literally 300 or 400 units. I'm building a building, it's one of the hottest buildings anyone's ever seen. It's just selling like hotcakes. Manhattan itself is becoming a place of the rich, period.
Where are your limits, Mr. Trump?
Well, I don't know what my limits are, but I know that when I reach my limits, I hope I'm going to be able to know that at that point.
The genie was out of the bottle. The brave new world of financial capitalism could no longer be constrained, and great efforts were made to sell it as a controllable and secure system.